All right, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. This is Kaustubh Jatap here. I'm the Director of Marketing here at SafeBreach. I wanted to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to attend our interactive session today. Before we get started, I wanted to remind everyone that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared with all registrants and attendees after the event is completed. It will also be available on our website after the recording is processed. At any given point of time, if you have any questions about the content that is being shared here, please feel free to ask your questions via the Q&A functionality available in Zoom webinar. We shall be answering all the questions during the Q&A, live Q&A session. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So enterprise security teams have to constantly defend the organization against the evolving threat landscape. Threat intelligence plays a very critical role in providing enterprise security teams with the information and the context that they need to stay ahead of these evolving threats. However, as everyone knows, threat intelligence is not one size fits all. What might be relevant to one organization might not be relevant to the other organization. So how do you actually take this threat intelligence and operationalize it to fit the needs of your organization so that you can handle your specific threat landscape effectively? This is where the Recorded Future and SafeBreach integration comes into play. This webinar is being jointly presented by experts from Recorded Future and SafeBreach. Chris Coburn, who's our speaker from Recorded Future, is a senior technical alliances architect, currently serving on Recorded Future's Global Technology Alliances team. By leveraging his extensive knowledge and strategic partnership experience, Chris has played a crucial role in driving the company's technology integrations and partnerships forward. Chris has a deep understanding of the technology platforms and the interdependencies, allowing to identify and cultivate fruitful and long-lasting relationships with Recorded Future partners. Chris is known for his ability to bridge the gap between complex technical concepts and practical business needs, ensuring seamless integration and cooperation between diverse technology platforms. Our speaker from SafeBreach side is Koby Barr. Koby Barr heads the product team at SafeBreach. He's a senior product executive with extensive experience in guiding products to achieve success. Over the past 12 years, Koby has been involved in various domains and has contributed to multiple products. Koby has been involved in the realm of cybersecurity. Koby has held the position of product head for a prominent AI-driven email security solution, playing a pivotal role in spearheading their global expansion efforts. Furthermore, he has garnered numerous accolades for his leadership in guiding various solutions throughout his career. So with that being said, over to you, Chris.
Thank you for the like over the top introduction there. Okay, usually just like hey. So Recorded Future is a threat intelligence company. We're the biggest threat intelligence company in the world. But when you say threat intelligence to cybersecurity people, that can mean many things to many people, right? Back in time, threat intelligence was only something you could use if you were a very, very mature customer, right? Because threat intelligence was sort of delivered in, analyst reports that had to be analyzed by people who understood what was being analyzed, right? So if you were focused on cyber Russian underground, you needed to be able to read that report and get and derive value out of it. And obviously, threat intelligence has matured along with the security industry to now threat intelligence is super important to your enterprise, whether you're a small business just trying to start your security practices, all the way to the biggest enterprises and governments in the world, trying to be as strategic as possible when it comes to, implementing threat intelligence and using threat intelligence to kind of drive their security outcomes. And so Recorded Future very much fits into that. And the way we fit into that is by our, mass of intelligence. And we separate ourselves from other vendors in the space by the way we get the vast majority of our threat intelligence. So Recorded Future collects data from about 1 million technical sources. It's a bit more than 1 million now, but those technical sources range from things like network traffic analysis, security blogs, vulnerability disclosure, Obviously, dark web sources, that's kind of, a lot of people kind of associate threat intelligence to dark web. So we have, one of the largest dark web collections in the industry. We have finished intelligence with our INSIC group, and we also collect signal data from our customers. We collect all of that data, we apply natural language processing and ontology analysis and entity relationship mapping to generate the corpus of data we call the intelligence graph. And the intelligence graph is so massive, it's really hard to describe to people. It's bigger than the Google search index at this point. And you can imagine our infrastructure provider very much enjoys us as a customer, because we just every day just add more and more crazy amounts of data. And once we've done all of this analysis and this data, what we're producing are all of these entities with rich contextual information, right? And so, the minute our product marketing made these fancy slides with GIFs, they're immediately out of date, right? But you can see the sheer amount of data we have. 3,000 threat actors, and it's more than that now, 1.3 billion file hashes, 500,000 vulnerabilities, But the key thing is you see all of these connections between it. It's this idea that, hey, this threat actor uses these pieces of malware, which exploit these vulnerabilities. They're using these IP addresses in their C2 infrastructure. They're, deploying their pieces of malware via these file hashes, and they're, phishing techniques via these domains. Like, that level of contextual association, or what we call links between the different entities, is what can really drive incredible outcomes, whether that be from a correlation and blocking perspective, whether that be in a breach and attack simulation perspective, like what we're going to talk about today, whether that be in just threat investigation and being strategic and kind of threat hunting in terms of which threat actors and which pieces of malware should I be concerned about as an enterprise. With this huge set of data I've been describing, obviously, like purchasing that or taking advantage of that needs to be focused, right? And so the way Recorded Future sort of sells our threat intelligence is via these things called modules. And the modules you can think of are different perspectives against that set of data. Everything from brand intelligence, looking at your brand mentions and logos, and executive impersonation and typo squad domain detection across the dark web and all of our technical sources. In the case of SafeBreach, our threat intelligence capabilities, which look at the very deep level analysis across our data set to help identify and investigate and prioritize the threats around your enterprise, around your enterprise specifically. Identity intelligence, if you're looking for things like compromised credentials, all the way down to geopolitical intelligence, if you're concerned about how geopolitics can affect your organization from a cyber perspective and a geopolitical perspective. The specific module that we're talking about with SafeBreach, though, is threat intelligence. And the biggest differentiator with threat intelligence is the capability not only for Recorded Future to provide a bunch of analytics and analysis. So what you see here is the threat map, and I'm going to do a little demo of the threat map so you understand sort of where we get this data and how, but also the ability to do your own analysis, right? And so I talked about all of the natural language processing and all the entity analytics and all the entity relationship mapping. But if you want to go do your own analysis, if you want to say, hey, I want to know when my brand is co-mentioned alongside these threat actors and co-mentioned alongside these TTPs across these dark web sources, that's what the power of the threat intelligence module gives you. It allows your high level analysts and level 1, level 2 guys too, to be able to go do the research that they need to do, collect that data, and use that data to empower their security. So why don't I before I jump out to a demo, one of the things that in a big part of my job as the Tech Alliance guy is integrating this data. So, Recorded Future, one of the things we say is that we provide actionable intelligence. And that is 100% true. I would say we do it better than anybody else in the world. The difference is we don't really provide action for that intelligence. We're sort of a company that sits there and says, hey, here is the information you need to know to go protect your environment, but we're not a SIM and we're not a SOAR and we don't have an EDR product. So we need to take that data and put it in the tools that can action it. And in my opinion, I've been so excited to get this going with SafeBreach because I'm a big believer in the breach and attack simulation space. To me, this is like the absolute perfect way to action your intelligence. Now the recorded future has told you, hey, these are the threat actors and these are the associations to those threat actors you should be concerned about. How about you go and see if you can actually protect yourselves against that? And that's what we're talking about today here. But obviously you can see all of the bubbles and stuff on this slide. We have, almost 100, I think it's over 100 integrations now across all of these different product segments. And, we're big believers in integrations here at Recorded Future. All right, let me jump into a quick demo so that you can see sort of what I'm talking about when I talk about the threat map. So you can see here that I have what I call the threat map. And the threat map is basically Recorded Future's analysis of your organization. And we understand your organization by things you put in what we call watch lists. So we want to know what your brand names are, what your logos look like, what industry you're in and what industry peers you consider yourself to be peers to. What's in your tech stack, right? Like, are you a big Microsoft 365 shop? Do you have a bunch of, do you have a bunch of Windows and Linux endpoints? Like, what is the kind of things that you have in your tech stack? What are the kind of vulnerabilities that you consistently see across your environment? And a few other factors. And we generate this thing called a threat map. And the threat map basically analyzes all of the threat actors that we know of. And it assigns them kind of a risk based on their opportunity and intent. So opportunity is basically how likely is that threat actor to be how likely is that threat actor capable of actually attacking you? Are they using pieces of malware that you are susceptible to that attack things in your tech stack? Have they attacked other companies in your peer list and have been successful at it? That type of information. And then intent along that same line is basically like how, is that threat actor interested in companies in your geographic location and companies in your industry and companies of your size, that kind of information. So what this threat map provides you is an understanding that like, hey, I should probably be a little bit more focused on Lockbit, Clop, Lazarus, Turla, probably a little bit less interested in Dark Pink or Kelvin Secti, right? And that is a tremendously valuable bit of information for a security team. Now I can go in here and say, okay, well, I should be concerned about Lazarus Group. If I click here and look at the data Recorded Future has for the Lazarus Group, now I can start to build a defense strategy, start testing those defenses with SafeBreach, and start to try to proactively make sure that I will not be attacked by Lazarus Group. So in the case of Lazarus Group here, we can see that it's a financial motivated nation state sponsored APT group out of North Korea. We can see that it's associated to 230 domains, almost 900 hashes, 713 different IP addresses. And the idea here is with all of these associated indicators and associated techniques and practices, you should be able to, especially with the help of SafeBreach, start to build a threat hunt or a simulation to make sure that, are we protected? Can we actually survive if this, nation state sponsored threat actor attacks us? That's what Recorded Future is all about, providing that information. And now I'm going to pass it on to Koby to show you how he can take this information and actually test and see if you're protected or not. Let me stop my sharing.
Fascinating presentation, I must say. I'm going to share my screen. So we're going to include in this part, just going to go over a few slides, and then we'll do actually a demo to show you how it all comes together. So pretty much as Chris said, we're very excited about this specific integration. So we've offered TI threat intelligence through SafeBreach for a while, but Recorded Future is one of the biggest vendor in the space, and it kind of correlates with the need from our clients or the ask from our clients to have this integration in place. So pretty much what it really allows our clients to do is to easily operationalize the threat intelligence feed and essentially, identify any gaps in their security controls. And we'll dive into the details there. But I want to start actually take a zoom out to talk about CTEM, Continuous Threat Exposure Management. So I'm not sure how familiar are you with this term, but it's something that, Gartner have introduced recently, and it takes kind of a more comprehensive overview of the entire ability of organization to manage any threats and look into that more holistically. So it's a new framework, and we, SafeBreach as a company, looking into providing all the different components to allow our clients to run a successful CTEM CTEM program. And one of the key elements here is those kind of integrations. So we're again leveraging, the most sophisticated and the most advanced feed from Recorded Future. We're able to then allow our companies or our clients to operationalize those attacks against their defenses. So pretty much, we believe that the SOC efficacy really relies on quality threat intelligence. And what I wanted to talk here is the ability for the security leader to really take those threats, to identify those threats, work with the threat intel team that is kind of the center in the organization, and be able to have this feedback loop between all those different parties. So for example, the threat intel team will make sure that all threat-related patches are in place, for example, with the vulnerability management team. And the second aspect is to really identify any gaps in your security control. That would be with the SOC ops team. So pretty much what this integration allows you to do as a security leader is have a peace of mind, essentially, and be able to kind of manage those threats more holistically in the organization. Also want to mention about a few words about the cost of not operationalizing the wrong threat intelligence. So obviously, we know security teams are overburdened, and the ability to have a more specific and to kind of filter out the noise and avoid alert fatigue is something that we found very, very important. A lack of context or low accuracy of detections. So again, you see those threats, to take them from identifying the data and seeing the threat and really testing against your defenses, it takes a long time to do, and it's costly. And this is where we step in. Lack of correlation, lack of visibility. So really understanding how those threats would specifically impact your environment. In under-defined SOC workflows, reduce analyst productivity. So at the end of the day, if I look at those threats but unable to really test them internally, it's a bit it lacks of efficiency. It creates lack of efficiency. The next slide is kind of how it all fits together. So as I said, SafeBreach, we have a very advanced research team. So just as an example, we have 3 publications in Blackhat this year. And the research team are responsible to create the content that we allow our clients to use in the environments. So when we look at our cloud playbook, the cloud playbook is pretty much what we offer to all our clients, and the integration with the TI allows you to enrich the playbook that we already have with, again, specific threats that are more that are delivered in real time. So at the end of the day, what we call the local playbook is essentially the place where we have all your attacks that you can actually use in your environment and really understand, again, what the threat landscape looks like. I also want to say a few words about US CERT. So this is a 24 hours SLA that we provide to our clients when there is a new US CERT for NISA. We know how to translate into actual attack within 24 hours. That would be uploaded to our cloud playbook, and then our clients are able to leverage those latest attacks against their defenses and understanding what their security posture looks like. So just to summarize at this point, the Recorded Future integration really allows you to take it one step forward, to leverage all this data behind under the hood, all the analytics that is done, to really take those threats and again test your defenses against. So just a few words, and then I'm going to jump into the demo next. So the first step is to really understand the enterprise-wide threat risk exposure against a specific threat. Then what SafeBreach allows you to do is to validate security controls against those threats. So every company, and going back to CTEM, it starts with the scoping, with the business scoping. I want to know what I want to test. I want to know what exactly the areas And what you're able to do here is to really kind of pick and choose and select which threat specifically or threat actors are relevant to you. So the ability to validate security controls against threats that matters allows you to really kind of prioritize, again, where do I put my time, and with threats specifically, I think that would be more harmful for my organization. So it kind of fits with the, I really like the graph that that Chris showed before in terms of the likelihood. So this is something that, again, with the feed from recorded future, you're able really to identify and prioritize accordingly. You can also ensure that the efficient threat risk, there's efficient threat risk mitigation in that case. And last but not least, the ability to minimize the sorry, just one second. I'm just looking at my notes.
Mean time to detect.
Mean time to detect, of course. Sorry, just had a blackout. So the ability to minimize the mean time to detect and then the mean time to response, it's what makes SafeBreach in this integration or this partnership very powerful, right? So it's one thing, again, to identify a specific threat, is another thing to see how your teams would be able to address the threat, leveraging breach and attack simulation. And this is one of the use cases we see from a lot of our clients, is to really kind of understand the day of an attack, what would happen? How is my team going to be able to handle this? And this is something that we see more and more, use cases of being able to, again, make sure that your SOC team is up to speed and they know how to handle the latest and greatest. So just kind of to sum up, again, bringing it back to the CTEM framework. And again, CTEM is not something, it's a program, so it's not a product. We want to kind of offer a comprehensive program as one of our goals moving forward. And we believe that those integrations we have in place really provide us something a bit more comprehensive. So I'm going to start with the discovery, right? So you can easily create new customized attacks based on any specific IOCs and TTPs provided by Record Future. And in a few minutes, we'll see how it looks like. It really helps with the ability to prioritize vulnerabilities and also the remediation. And that's something SafeBreach does already. And the last part is the validation step. So I'm really weaponizing those threats against my defenses. So again, we're looking at SafeBreach to kind of have a comprehensive, holistic CTEM program as one of our goals. And we believe that the integration with Core Future is a key element in providing this holistic view. I'm going to jump now to a quick demo. I'm going to show you how the integration looks like live. So as you can see, this is our feed from Recorded Future. In SafeBreach, when I click on the attack, I'm able to, again, run scenarios. When I talk about scenarios are just a combination of attacks. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of how to build, again, what do you want to run continuously in your organization. The reason why I'm talking about this for a second is just the fact that, you know, that's pretty much what we produce in terms of content. So when you want to kind of, again, test your security controls, you're able to use out of the box attacks that we provide, and you're also able to leverage threat intelligence for that purpose. So this is the feed. I already filtered it by Recorded Future specifically. This is the integration we have in place. Chris, do you want to say a few words about some of those threats we're seeing?
Yeah, so one of the key things here is that this is specific to whatever customer is going to see. So no two customers are going to see the same list of threat actors here. Those threat actors are going to come from your threat map, and that threat map is specific to you. You can see here that the big names are here. So I was the one that designed the demo environment for SafeBreach. So I put, some of the bigger names to make sure that they're going to get some of the juicy ones. And I'm pretty sure, Koby, you've run the simulation against Klopp, right? And so I'm sure the cybersecurity professionals here have been aware of Clop and probably been a little bit nervous and have had to run around and make reports and talk to their CISOs about Clop ransomware group. If you're unaware, Clop ransomware group is an extortion ransomware type group that has been kind of known for naming and shaming companies that they've been able to penetrate via the Move It vulnerability. So there was a zero-day exploit available for the Microsoft Move It product. And so, the Clop ransomware group is a ransomware as a service group that sort of sells ransomware tooling that, the Clop ransomware tooling to attack those vulnerabilities. And, they've hit huge companies. We've all seen the news, right? Estee Lauder, Maximus, DHL, a bunch of others. And it's, it's one of those things that it's the kind of typical threat that we're seeing nowadays, right? These financially motivated name and shame type groups that take advantage of these 0 days that we would never have been able to protect ourselves from anyways. So Koby, you want to show what that looks like?
Yeah, of course. So if I dive into the details, so I just kind of dived into Clop. I can see the specific IOCs and TTPs associated with that threat. Specifically here, I don't have integration with VirusTotal, but we have a capability to pull, the associated file as well. And I can also see the different attacks associated with that threat. So as you can see, I can really dive into the different attacks, the attack phase, and so on. And from here, just within a click of a button, I'm able to run it in my environment. So I'm able to select, again, the attacks that are relevant, or just to run the entire threat with the attacks, IOCs, TTPs, within a click of a button. And that's pretty much the kind of the flow we're offering. So again, I think what's really powerful here, and I want to re-emphasize what Chris said, is the fact that the threats are tailor-made and are based on specific, unique needs of the client. And then what SafeBreach allows you to do is to take those threats again and operationalize them, and really understanding how you're protected against.
Yeah.
So this.
I just want to make a comment here, Koby. So if there's any recorded future customers here that are interested in SafeBreach, or the first time they've seen SafeBreach, we get asked all the time of it's great that I know that Clop ransomware exists, but how do I know if I'm affected, right? How do I know if they're going to attack me, if they have attacked me, if they can attack me, right? SafeBreach is in a unique position to be able to tell you that almost immediately, right? Imagine when your CISO comes downstairs after reading the New York Times about Clop ransomware and says, hey guys, are we vulnerable to this? Have we been attacked by this? Imagine if you could say, well, here's what Recorded Future knows about Clop ransomware, right? You copy paste that AI insight right into a report, and then you copy paste the proof that, hey, we're protected against these techniques. We're protected against these vulnerabilities. We're protected against these, these IP addresses or hashes with the tooling we have. Or maybe there is a gap and you can show that you have fixed the gap that, is associated to that threat actor. That's an extremely powerful and important story, I think, in the day-to-day life for an analyst.
Exactly. So just to kind of, wrap this point up, I'm going to show you the results. So I already kind of took this, ran it in our environment. Again, I'm not going to do it live because sometimes it takes time to run all the different simulations. But you can see that at the end of the day, something that ran in my environment. In this case, I don't have security control integrated. And again, this is a demo environment. But what we'll do with those simulations, we'll also correlate those events to specific events from the associated security control. So you get kind of a holistic view and specific view. In that case, you can see that 49% were stopped out of those attacks, but 51% were missed. So this is kind of the first information I get. And from here, I can do further investigation and really understand exactly what the gaps are. I can also see the top exploited attack types. So that's all information we provide as part of the analysis. I'm able to download and share this. So what we're seeing, a lot of our clients, sometimes with the Clop that, as Chris mentioned, came in the news. Now I'm able to run it, then share the report directly with my executives, and then show exactly, that we're not just aware of it, we've tested it, and that's what makes the big difference here. If I dive to the simulation results here, I have a very detailed information of a specific simulation what the test was. In this case, it's clear system log, for example. And this information is what makes SafeBreach unique, is the ability to really dive into the details and understand, again, what action needs to be taken. It's also, and this is all, out of the box capabilities, so it's not unique to Recorded Future. Any attack, any scenario that you'll run, you'll get those components, but the MITRE heat maps also, will take specific threats that are relevant and will map them to the MITRE heat map. So you kind of get all the information in one place. Insights, this is, I must say, this is an area that we are currently working on. We want to improve the content behind the scene, but the insights really give you specific recommendations of what you do. So we went from identifying a threat from Recorded Future that should be relevant to you, validating, and then potentially also remediating that risk. And that's pretty much the compelling story here, is the ability to take from a threat to actual remediation at the end of the day. And last but not least, dashboards are able to, again, to cut and create different queries based on specific need you have. And again, it depends on the client. Those are flexible dashboards and really allow you to slice and dice the data the way that is appropriate to you. I think that's about it.
Yep.
At least from the demo perspective, and I think we can jump to some questions now, KJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris and Koby. Again, I just want to remind you that if you have any questions, please use the Q&A functionality and submit your questions. We do have a couple of questions that we've received while the presentation was going on. I think this question is something that probably, Chris, you could answer. How do you ensure that Recorded Future's intelligence data is accurate, reliable, and up to date?
So the key thing here, when we talk about threat intelligence, there are open source intelligence feeds available. There's, all kinds of these different intelligence vendors. And like, there's a lot, with any of them, there are some risks to the intelligence, right? Is it fresh? Is it still live, right? Like an IP address is not bad forever, right? And a threat actor typically is going to use an IP address for as long as they can before it starts getting blocked by every vendor in the world. And then they're going to drop that IP address and go on to the next thing. Well, that IP address could get picked up by a perfectly benign source. So you don't want to start blocking and correlating and, making announcements or making decisions based on that IP address that isn't, is not malicious anymore. Recorded Futures is extremely real time, right? And so when we categorize an IP address as malicious, maybe associated to a C2 server, if we stop seeing evidence that that thing is a C2 server, whether that be network traffic analysis, whether that be blog posts, whether that be, evidence of that IP address, like collecting pings, that we're going to lower the risk rating of that IP address. So the data across that huge data set that I showed you with all of those indicators and all of those links is changing every second of every day, right? And so, even your threat map, every day you go look at that threat map, those actors are going to be in slightly different places, right? So it's about having incredible technical sourcing, which I think we have. Like, there's no other threat intel vendor that has the sheer depth and breadth of sources we have. And it's the freshness, right? We are constantly getting new data. We're constantly updating the threat intelligence associated to that data. And, if stuff needs to be aged out, it gets aged out. If stuff needs to be categorized as malicious, it gets recategorized as malicious.
So much, Chris. The next question, I think both Chris and Koby can both and probably answer this. How do you measure the effectiveness of your threat intelligence provider or feed?
Yeah, I mean, that's the number one question, right? And so, how do we make sure that, once the customer has bought Recorded Future, like that they, are happy with it and keep buying it? Obviously things, it comes down to the integrations very often, right? Are you seeing those correlations? Are you able to block things at the endpoint or the firewall? Are you able to take the intelligence that Recorded Future has created and effectively use it in something like a SafeBreach, right? And so, the KPI and metric really come down to you as an organization. Are you getting the value? Are you blocking more things? Are you seeing less attacks? Are you, all of those kind of things? If that is getting better, then, you're probably getting a ton of value out of your threat intelligence. If you're getting tremendous amount of false positives and you're getting, data that just doesn't seem correct, like IP addresses that people are saying malicious but seem relatively benign. Obviously, it's the other direction. And so, when we work with our customers, we have intelligence consultants that work with our customers. That's what we're looking for. Are the metrics, pointing up, or are they pointing down? And SafeBreach is just going to be another place where those metrics are going to be turning up because, you are taking advantage of those powerful data points to protect your environment.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. And the question here is, Koby, this might be something you might be able to answer. Can you create custom scenarios by combining attacks created from recorded futures IOCs with the available attacks in the SafeBreach playbook? And how easy is it?
Yes, absolutely. And it's very easy. As I showed you before in the demo, you're able to take, those attacks that would be added. Once you press generate, it would be added to the playbook. And then the scenarios is pretty much something that is just, completely customized. We're able to select which attacks would be a scenario essentially. So just an abstraction. So pretty much, yeah, as simple as that. I'm getting the feed, I'm seeing the threat, generating those attacks. They add it to my personal playbook or the client's playbook, and then you're able to build different scenarios and run it against your defenses.
Yeah, and I like one little point to add there. I think one of the things that we haven't really talked about is continuous monitoring too, right? Like as you've built that scenario for Clop ransomware, recorded future is going to continually add a little bit of data to that, but you can run that consistently to make sure you are continuing either to be blocking it perfectly or at least getting a little better every time, right? And so that's another big piece of the SafeBreach value is like you can continuously monitor against both the data coming from recorded future and the data that SafeBreach already had.
So again, thank you everyone for taking the time to attend our presentation. Thank you to our presenters, Chris and Koby. It was truly insightful and wonderful presentation. Again, as I mentioned before, if you do have any questions about the content, please do reach out. The presentation will be available. The recording will be available on our website, as well as it will be emailed to all the attendees and registrants as well. With that being said, have a wonderful rest of the day and have an amazing rest of the week. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you very much.